Let's begin in Abuja with a story of kidnapping of 20 persons in a dawn operation carried out by bandits in Tungan Maje on the outskirts of the FCT. 14 people have been released after their abductors forced them to walk several kilometers and for hours into the bush. 6 are believed to be in captivity and no ransom or demands have been made by the kidnappers. Residents say they fear that the worst is yet to happen. This incident is coming barely a week after the defense headquarters reacted to a statement. Well, let's get a clearer picture to the situation in Tungan Maje. Our correspondent, defense correspondent, Sifon Isien, is standing by at the scene and is going to be telling us a lot more than we know right now. Sifon, it's good to have you join us. Tell us, what is the report at your disposal? Because from what we understand, it seems like a case of abduction and not necessarily a terror attack.
Oh, well, this is a clear case of kidnapping by bandits. We're told about 30 of them invaded this community between midnight and 4 a.m. this morning, and they moved from house to house, you know, dispossessing people of their valuables as well as picking people. Now, we're told that they gathered the people around here and then they move them, you know, down the road where you can actually see right now, across a stream and several other streams, and went into the bush. Now, one of the houses that they visited is this one behind me. And if you look closely at the gates where you have the handle, it's pitted with bullet holes. That was how they were able to force their way into the compound. I spoke with the residents in that house, and I was told that 17-year-old was taken and she's still in captivity. Several other houses here were attacked, like this other one to my right. Yes, you can see the house. A married woman pregnant was taken from this house, made to trek several kilometers, cross several streams, and into the bushes. At some point in time, she was let off the hook. But as we speak at the moment, no ransom has yet been requested or demanded by the bandits. No contact has been made with homes where they took people. It's a case of apprehension, and like you said in the introduction, the people fear that the worst is yet to happen.
Help us better understand where Tungan Maje is located. In the script it says on the outskirts of Abuja, but help us understand the other communities that are located around that community.
It's on the outskirts of Abuja. From here, it shares border with Niger State. From here you get to Zuba, and from here you get to Suleja, which is a local council area in neighboring Niger State. It's just a stone's throw from here. And if you go further to my right, traveling several kilometers, you get to Kogi State. So this is more or less a border or boundary community between Niger State and Kogi State on the outskirts of the metropolis of Abuja.
But help us to understand, is it the first time this is happening in this community, as community members, talked about this kidnapping issue over time? Because we understand that this is not the first time communities on the outskirts of the FCT are complaining about abductions of this kind.
Well, this is not the first time communities on this swathe of the FCT are experiencing kidnapping. We're privy to the fact that several communities outside of here have had bitter experiences of kidnapping cases, many that are yet unresolved. But for this particular community, this is the first time they would be experiencing this kidnapping. We were told that there have been cases of armed robbery before now, time and again, but this is the first kidnapping. 20 persons were taken, 16 were eventually released after trekking into the bushes. 6 persons we gather from members of the communities are still in captivity as we speak.
Well, several communities in Abuja, Sifon, have had to set up self-help groups to defend themselves and their land. Do you know if Tungan Maje was one of such, or did they even try to repel the attack, or has the police been to the area to ascertain or give like a security check or see if they can get those persons back?
Efforts were uptake by the local vigilante to repel this invasion. Of course, limitations of the equipment in terms of weaponry. We're told these invaders came with sophisticated weapons in the caliber of AK-47 and what's often called on the streets pump action. And they used it lavishly, shooting several directions. Like I showed you, this compound was shot into several times. The gate is pitted with bullet holes, and the car beyond the gate is pitted with bullet holes. And we're told by the residents that it could have been worse, but for the intervention of the operatives of the Special Anti-Robbery Squad that came from distances from here, to repel the attack. But at the time they came, the deed had already been done, and the kidnappers were making their way out of this community into the bushes, and the police operatives gave them a hot chase, which is why a number of persons who could not make it as quickly as the bandits would have wanted were released, so they don't slow them down. But for that effort, perhaps maybe the entire 20 persons would still be in captivity.
Sifon, I would like to, let's still keep this conversation going. So 6 persons are still in captivity of the gunmen. 14 initially were taken, 6, and then some persons were returned back to the community. But help us understand the kind of occupation these persons are involved in and why that community seems to be a target for gunmen.
There's an impression that there had been surveillance of the area before this operation by the bandits was carried out, or the kidnappers, as the case may be, because they came to certain houses, and the residents have the impression that before now, these bandits may have done surveillance of the area to decide which houses to invade. And largely persons here are small-scale private business persons. All the persons we've interacted with, none of them is a civil servant, basically small businesses within and outside the community.
Sifon, please do keep an eye on that. Hopefully those persons will be returned as soon as possible. Thank you so much for the updates.